Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and I have another Beetle update, and it's been giving me trouble again. Okay guys, so those of you who watched the last Beetle update will know that I was starting to have a little bit of trouble with the key, and now it's gotten to the stage where the car won't even start. It won't run at all. I think basically there's poor terminals inside the ignition, or at least I hope that's what the sole problem is. In any case, I think it's time to pull the ignition barrel apart, see if I can clean it up and see if I can somehow get this car to start again, because it's really driving me crazy. Okay, that came out reasonably easily. I took off the steering wheel, took out the 4 screws that hold in the indicator, and I managed to move this out of the way far enough without disconnecting it completely in behind to undo the screws. There were sort of 2 screws in behind the indicator assembly that hold in the steering column, and then, at least on mine, there were just a bunch of wires that were plugged into the back of the key barrel. And I marked each of the wires so I know how to put them all back in again. They're all labelled with little tabs so I can put them back in the right spot. So now I'm going to try and pull apart this key barrel and see if I can clean up some terminals, because I'm hoping that that's just what my problem is. This is the back of the ignition barrel. It came out just with a little grub screw on the hidden on the side of the barrel here. The rest of it just seems to be, that's just the key barrel, which is not really important because it's just the locking mechanism. This is the bit that actually starts the car, and I've gone in, I've used a bit of terminal cleaner and just just some contact cleaner and given it a tidy up. I'm going to put it back in, reassemble it, put it back in, and hopefully that's enough to get it to work. Fingers crossed. I really want it to work. I don't want to have to stuff around anymore. Okay, I've put it all back together again. I've gone through and tested it. The car still won't start, but the ignition switch seems to be working better. I can tell just by the way how stereo comes on and off. So the stereo is coming on and off nicely. It's not as fiddly as it was. Used to be if I moved the key at all, it would turn off. So now the stereo is staying on, which means the ignition is staying on. At least that's the theory I have with the switch. So it means our problem goes deeper. And that means going back to the basics, and let's first of all check fuel and spark and see if we've still got some of them. All right, so it's time to go through and check for fuel and spark. For starters, I'm going to go through and I'm going to check fuel. The way I'm going to do this initially, I think, is I'm going to pull the air filter off and I'm going to pump the accelerator and see if it's actually squirting fuel from the accelerator pump. And if it is, then I assume there's fuel getting in there and we can have to move on to ignition. That's not pumping any fuel, so I'm thinking it's probably fuel related. I'm actually relieved because fuel related for me is much easier than ignition because I'm terrible with wiring, but fuel is pretty simple. If there's no fuel coming through, make it come through. Okay, so my fuel check is going to be simply taking the fuel hose coming out of the regulator, dip it in this container here and crank the car over and see if any fuel ends up in the container. If it doesn't, then I know I've got a problem. Container's dry, so obviously fuel is not getting through. Let's go further. I'm going to go underneath the front and check the fuel filter, because that could be the problem. So now the fuel filter's dry, the plot thickens. What it may actually be is the age-old problem of I've run out of fuel. So I might actually go and get a jerry can, fill the tank up and see if it makes a difference. I'm such an idiot. If that's what it is, oh, what an idiot. So on further inspection, when I first looked at this, I thought it was just a little tiny bit of fuel in the bottom here. But in fact, that is actually water in the bottom. So the whole bottom part is water and the top half is fuel. This whole thing is actually completely full. It's probably hard to see in the camera under here with this light, but either way, that means I'm going to pull this out. I've actually got a bunch of these filters, so I'm just going to take it out and just change the filter over. I'm not even going to bother trying to drain it. So we'll swap filters over and try again and see if that has something to do with our problem. But either way, that looks like quite a bit of water in the fuel tank. Okay, well, it seems like it was just some dodgy fuel that was stopping it running. But now it seems to be running perfectly. The key is good. So I think now there's only a couple more little touch-ups that I want to do on this car before I think it's time to say goodbye to John Lemon. So yeah, I'm sort of enjoying having it around, but particularly once the Zed's on the road, I'm not going to need John Lemon anymore. It's just going to be an extra car. So if anybody's interested in it, contact me. But all right. At least it's running again and all good and I can enjoy it. All right, guys. Until next time. See ya.